Hello there, welcome to a Primeast discussion. My name is Owen Wibberley. Today I am joined by Claire Holmes, a senior client manager here at Primeast. Now Claire has extensive experience working for the European Medicines Agency and working in the pharmaceutical industry. So I wanted to ask her along today to talk about some of the challenges that the industry is facing right now and leadership in the industry is facing right now with the increased focus that there is on that industry. Now, Claire, you recently wrote about how an understanding of our strengths can help us to thrive in a time of uncertainty. Now, obviously, I would say right now is a time of great uncertainty. And so how can we use, first of all, understand our strengths and then use that to thrive? Difficult word to say at this time, difficult time, but to thrive in a time of uncertainty like right now.
Great question. Thanks, Owen. So hello, everyone, firstly. And so thinking about how do we use our strengths to thrive in these times of uncertainty? Because the first thing I'd say is that, we are perhaps more aware of the uncertainty that we're facing at the moment, but the reality is that nothing in life is certain, and we are faced with uncertainty every day, even when we're not in a crisis as we are at the moment. And I suppose we are just more, we have a heightened awareness of that uncertainty at the moment, and it's that reaction to that awareness that's perhaps making us feel more anxious at the moment. But we are constantly facing uncertainty, and I think at times like this, when we're feeling perhaps anxious, the key is to come back to ourselves and to really look inward at what we have as our innate resources to help us to deal with this uncertainty and to thrive. And, I think some of our key resources we have at our disposal are our strengths at this time.
So when you say strengths, what do you mean by that?
So I think a lot of people, when we say strengths, it's a term that's bandied about a lot.
Sure.
We always talk about, it's a common interview question. What are your strengths? And I think when we think about strengths, we often tend to think about skills. Somebody might be good at, writing presentations, at delivering presentations. I think of strengths, in a very different way. I think about the concept of talent and strength, firstly. And if we start with talent, I think about our talents. We all have talents. And by talents, I don't mean, an ability to dance really well or to, or to write a great presentation or to present really well. When I think about talents, I think about the ways in which we naturally think and feel and behave. So the way in which we are wired, essentially, and we're born like that. And our talents don't really change. There's ways that we naturally have of thinking, feeling, behaving that come very naturally to us don't change so much as we go through life. But what we do have as we go through life is a number of opportunities to hone and develop and demonstrate those talents. And it's that demonstration of our talents, the making them manifest. That's what I think of as strengths. So Gallup, for example, Gallup defines a talent as a natural way of thinking or feeling or behaving that can be productively applied. It doesn't necessarily mean it is productively applied, but it's there. It's in us. And their definition of a strength is perfect or near perfect performance at a specific time with a specific task. So I think of our talents as the being, who we are, how we're wired, and I think of our strengths as the doing. And what we want to do is to understand our talents, to understand who we are, the ways in which we naturally think and feel and react. And through intentional effort, through a focus on those talents, and through work and intentional application of those talents, develop them into demonstrable strengths that will improve our performance, improve our relationships with other people, etc. So if our talents are the being, our strengths are the doing.
Okay.
And And I think, there's a strong connection between how we feel and our strengths, because, when we're playing to our strengths, when we're using our natural talents, we feel more comfortable. Things come more easily to us. We're more likely to be in flow, and our performance will be better. A really nice, very simple metaphor that I often think about when I think about strengths is, if you take a simple sentence, I use my strengths every day, and you first write that sentence as many times as you can with your non-dominant hand. You'll write that sentence, and unless you're ambidextrous, you'll be able to write that sentence, but it will feel a bit clunky, it will be a bit uncomfortable, you'll be slower, and ultimately the results won't be as good. Your sentence will probably be written a bit messily. And, if you set yourself the task of writing that sentence as many times as you could in a minute, you wouldn't be able to write it that many times, probably. You then repeat the exercise with your dominant hand. Most likely, you will find it much easier. It will flow. You could concentrate on other things. It will come naturally to you, and the results will be much better. You will write that sentence more neatly. You'll be able to write it more times within a given time frame. And I think that's a really nice metaphor for using your strengths. We have ways. We are naturally left or right-handed, unless we're ambidextrous. We have ways in which we naturally are, and we can try and be something we're not. We can try and demonstrate other strengths, but it doesn't feel as good, and ultimately we don't get the same result.
Okay, so for anyone who's been through a job application or a job interview will have practiced for that question: what are your strengths? What are you good at? And so they'll have an idea. But is there any other way of maybe inventorying your strengths and getting a better understanding of yourself?
The way that I have found the best way of understanding my own strengths has been to take a strengths assessment, to take the Gallup Clifton StrengthsFinder assessment. For me, that is the gold standard of strengths assessments. It's not an exaggeration to say that taking the Clifton StrengthsFinder assessment changed my life, and it's really not an exaggeration to say that. And through that, I've come to not only accept who I am and what I am and how I react to things, but I've come to really embrace those talents, and I've come to feel proud of them, really own them. And I've also come to a far greater understanding of how I can take those talents and develop them, nurture them, build them into strengths for performance. So I think having an assessment like that you can explore with somebody else, to talk through, is the most valuable thing you can do for yourself.
Right, because I've taken one of those assessments myself, but I never had the opportunity to really sit down and discuss it with a coach and with a mentor. And it was interesting for me to find out that, but it didn't have maybe the changing effect that it obviously did on you. So why is it so important, do you think, to follow it up and like engage in coaching after that, or coaching or whatever, just discussing with someone and talking about those results? Why is that so important?
I think as with anything, it's better to have a sounding board, to have a partner, to have somebody who is, firstly, I think in this context, someone who is skilled in an understanding of the assessment itself, who is able to help you understand what the results of your assessment really mean, and who's able to ask the right powerful questions to help you explore further those strengths and to make meaning out of them, to make sense out of those results, and to really apply them to your reality and what's happening in your life. And I think it's also, for me personally, it's been particularly valuable to have somebody to explore my strengths with, to have a coach to explore my strengths with, because when I was just looking at first, when I took the assessment, when I was just looking at it, yes, there was interesting information there. And it was great, and it was great to read it, and I was thinking, yes, I recognise that. Yeah, that makes sense. But I think having a very focused, structured approach to that exploration with somebody else, somebody who can hold a mirror up to you, is invaluable. And, I was able with a coach to, yes, to think more about my strengths, my talents, my strengths and what they are, but also to really structure my thinking around that in terms of what's the real value that I bring with the talents that I naturally have. And it also helped me to articulate that value to other people, to find the words, to find the vernacular, to actually talk about who I am and what I bring with other people. I was also able, as a coach, to think about the specific needs that I have with the talents that I have. Because with every talent or strength come specific needs. And if we are not aware of what those needs are, and if those needs are not being met, then we won't thrive. And so it was really invaluable to me to understand, okay, so, I have very high empathy, for example. And, that can be a real strength. It can really help me, but it can also get in my way. If I can be drained by that talent. If I don't take time every day to decompress, to take time and think about that, just thinking about those needs that I have is absolutely invaluable. And also with a coach, I was able to explore the potential vulnerabilities that come with all of the talents and the strengths. And those vulnerabilities may come in the form of somebody misperceiving what is actually a strength or a talent, misperceiving that as a weakness, or the potential vulnerability may come in terms of us sort of dialing up that talent too much, letting it control us almost, and not relying on other people and sort of complementary partnerships and other people's complementary strengths. Success, so it was really interesting and enlightening to sort of think about the potential vulnerabilities. So having a coach really took me to the next level and beyond, in my exploration of my strengths. And then also I was able, through that whole journey, and have been able to on several occasions, to take a particular challenge that I might be facing at that time, whether it's a career challenge, a personal challenge, and look at that challenge through a strengths lens with a coach who understands my strengths and my talents, really knows me, and so we can talk about how to overcome that challenge or achieve that goal, using my strengths.
Well, I'm definitely going to dig out my my Clifton Strengths report and find someone to speak to to go through it, and hopefully that can affect the same kind of change that it did for you. So the Gallup Clifton StrengthsFinder, that is available. They're available online, but they are available through Primeast, I understand. Is that right?
Yes, they are. So what we can do, so I am a certified strengths coach with Gallup. So I've had the privilege of working with hundreds of people exploring their strengths, and I'd love the opportunity to do that with more people. And so what we are offering at this time is a coaching session, essentially a debrief based on the Clifton StrengthsFinder assessment, the top 5 strengths assessment. We're offering a free hour-long debrief and initial coaching session, just to start to look at those strengths. The first 10 people who we hear from will be able to take the strengths assessment free of charge, and then have the coaching session after that, also free of charge. But of course, if you want to take it further, if you want to take the full strengths assessment, that of course is also an option, and the conversation is so much richer with all of that information as well. And that the debriefing coaching is the same, essentially. But if you just want to start to explore, to dip your toe in, as it were, we've got the top 5 on strengths assessment. If you're one of the lucky top 10 people who, first 10, sorry, I don't want to confuse people, you're one of the lucky first 10 people to respond to this, you'll get your assessment for free and the coaching for free. But after that, if you happen to be number 11 or thereafter, there's a very small fee for the strengths assessment itself to get your top 5 strengths. and the coaching session is still free.
Okay, so there you go. So the first 10 people to respond to this video get a free strength assessment and 1 hour free coaching. And if you are 11, 12, you might have to pay a very small fee for the strength assessment, but there is a free coaching session in there as well.
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, so Claire, thank you so much for that. That was a really, really interesting discussion. I think changed my perspective on that as well. So that's great. So if you are interested in pursuing this further, just click on the link below, and we'll be able to point you in the right direction. Okay, so thank you very much again, and see you next time.
Take care. Bye.